Hello and welcome. So this is my second Hungry Bin. This particular bin I started according to manufacturer's instructions, and this is how I keep it. Now the reason that I keep it this way, of course, is because the worms climb if I close the lid. So typically I do my updates on a Saturday. You can see that I have no worms crawling anywhere, right? Because I have this material on top. They're happy to be on top. Here they are, but they don't climb the sides, they don't climb the lid, and everything in here is really nice and moist, and these guys are happy doing their thing. But today is Friday, not Saturday. So what I am going to do, there's a reason why I'm doing this first. I wanted to show what happens when I close the lid. So I am going to first get these little creepy crawlers off of here, and then I'm going to close the lid. Okay, so I made sure that all the worms were back in here, and they're nice and lively, and the material is nice and moist. So tomorrow is going to be Saturday, and it's going to be the regular update for this bin. I want you to see what happens when the Hungry Bin is closed. And this is one of the issues that I have with the way the Hungry Bin is made. So you can see these holes, they're very small, and certainly, in my opinion, not appropriate enough for proper aeration. So I'm going to, you can see the worms don't crawl. I'm going to close the lid, and I'm going to give it 24 hours. I'm going to come back in 24 hours to do our regular update of the Hungry Bin and the feeding, and you will see what happens when I lift the bin. Stay tuned. Okay, so it hasn't quite been 24 hours, but it is Saturday, and I'm going to carefully lift up the lid to see what these guys are up to. And this is what the guys are up to in less than less than 24 hours. Now you can imagine if you feed and then just leave them alone for 3-4 days, a week. This is why I don't like to close the lid. If it would have been less, if it would have been more than 24 hours, I would have found a lot more worms on the side. So let me take these guys off, and we will continue this update. So I got all our wanderers off the sides and the lid, but again, you can see how wet the lid becomes. Again, less than 24 hours, and all the castings showing that the worms were climbing, and you can compare the before and the after, how the worms climb. And so this is just one of the problems that I have with this system, because I don't want my worms to climb. I want them to stay here at the top, composting away, and the holes are just not sufficient enough. There isn't enough of them, and they're just too small. But these guys, they're doing great. They're working over the bedding, and the material feels nice. It feels a little bit warm, but not at all hot or uncomfortable in any way for them. And that's just typically what happens when your kitchen waste breaks down. It does release heat. It also releases ammonia. So when you feed a lot, especially when you hear people saying, oh, just, they need a lot of food, just put a whole bunch of food in there to get that leachate, which is, of course, not something that I like. It releases ammonia, and that can kill your worms, especially when the ammonia can't escape through these little holes over here. So, enough talking, let's feed these guys up. I have the carbon ready and waiting for them. And I think my feedings in general are large enough, certainly larger than most people would feed their bins. So it's not like they don't get enough food, because they certainly do. So a nice, large helping of kitchen waste. You can see I always do a nice balance of carbon and nitrogen. Try to spread it out a little bit so there's going to be less heat. We've got all kinds of really good things here. We got banana skins, we got pear, we got watermelon skins. And then we're just going to cover it a little bit with the castings and the paper. And that way they have food everywhere, not just in one area. I think we're going to see a nice warm bowl with that pear. That's it. That's all there is to it. But as I've said, that is just one of the issues that I have with this bin. And as you can see, I don't run my bin wet. I do not use leachate. Leachate is a byproduct of the kitchen waste decomposing and releasing the moisture. It can have pathogens in it. It is not recommended to use on edibles, and it can indicate that your bin is running wet. It is not worm wee. It is not worm tea. It is not worm juice. I don't know where those terms came from, but that's not what it is. And if you use it on your non-edibles, that's fine. But I do not care for it. And when my bins start to have excess liquid, I pull back on the food and add a lot of extra bedding because I do not use leachate. So that's our update. So these guys are going to go back to the way I keep them, and that is just a nice plastic cover here. It has air holes, and there's plenty of air all the way around, so the worms don't climb. They're happy being where the food is. And of course, then I cover with the doubled up netting. This is just either mosquito netting or some kind of screen. And then last but not least is the paper to keep everything nice and dark for them. Again, it lets a lot of air in, but it does not create this situation. So that's our update, and I hope now you understand a little bit about why I keep the bin this way. So thanks for joining me.